This is the Emotional Vocabulary Series by Duenas. Today we will address the emotion of distant. Why do we sometimes feel disconnected from others, and how can we rebuild closeness? Let's explore the emotion of feeling distant, its causes, effects, and how to bridge the emotional gap. Introduction. Feeling distant refers to a sense of emotional or physical separation from others, often characterized by disconnection or detachment. This emotion can arise from personal struggles, relationship dynamics, or external stressors. While distance can be protective in certain situations, prolonged disconnection may hinder relationships and well-being. Understanding this emotion is vital for fostering meaningful connections and navigating moments of isolation. Including distant in our emotional vocabulary empowers us to address its root causes and bridge gaps in relationships. Definitions. Layman's definition. Feeling distant means experiencing emotional or physical detachment from others, often accompanied by a lack of connection or engagement. Clinical definition. Distant refers to a psychological state of detachment or withdrawal from relationships or interactions, often as a coping mechanism for stress, trauma, or emotional overload. Perception and expression in everyday contexts. This emotion is often expressed through withdrawal, reduced communication, or avoidance of intimacy. In psychological theory, it is seen as a response to perceived threats or overwhelming emotions. Origins. Evolutionary roots. Emotional distance may have evolved as a protective mechanism, allowing individuals to conserve energy or avoid conflict during periods of stress. Cultural dimensions. Cultural norms shape how emotional distance is perceived. In some societies, distance may be viewed as independence, while in others, it may be seen as avoidance or neglect. Biological mechanisms. Emotional distance involves reduced activity in brain regions like the limbic system, which regulates emotional processing, and increased cortisol levels, reflecting stress or disengagement. Effects. Psyche. Prolonged emotional distance contributes to feelings of loneliness, sadness, and reduced emotional well-being. Daily life. This emotion shapes habits such as avoiding social interactions or neglecting meaningful connections. Family and friends. Feeling distant strains relationships, often leading to misunderstandings and reduced emotional intimacy. Workplace. In professional settings, emotional distance hinders collaboration, trust, and team dynamics. Freedom. Emotional distance limits personal freedom by fostering isolation and reducing opportunities for meaningful connections. Examples. Personal story. A person feels distant from their partner after a disagreement, prompting reflection and eventual reconciliation through open communication. Societal behavior. Social media often fosters a sense of distance, creating superficial connections over deep relationships. Historical event. Post-war veterans often report feeling distant from society due to shared experiences that differ from civilian life. Challenges and mental health. Prolonged feelings of distance contribute to depression, loneliness, and difficulty forming or maintaining relationships. It can exacerbate conditions like anxiety or PTSD, creating barriers to emotional recovery. Management and mitigation. Strategies. Open communication. Discussing feelings of distance with loved ones fosters understanding and reconnection, Therapy. Counseling helps address underlying causes of emotional distance and builds relational skills. Engagement practices. Actively participating in shared activities rebuilds emotional connections. Resources. Couples counseling for relational distance, support groups for isolation or loneliness, and mindfulness exercises to increase emotional awareness. Conclusion. Feeling distant is a natural emotion that reflects our need for space and protection but requires attention to avoid prolonged disconnection. By understanding its triggers and impacts, individuals can foster reconnection and emotional closeness. Emotional intelligence around distance empowers us to bridge relational gaps and cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. This was The Emotion of Distant from the Emotional Vocabulary series by Duenas.